This episode of Girl Influence Power is brought to you by Kollectin. Shop or run the world's tiniest boutiques with Kollectin.
Welcome to Girl Influence Power Podcast. I'm your host, Nadia Lee, entrepreneur, jewelry designer, CEO, and co-founder of Kollectin, an app that lets you shop influencer and designer labels direct from the source. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in live on Castbox. This episode is brought to you by Kollectin. Shop the world's tiniest boutique in partnership with Castbox. Okay, so today my guest is Vanessa Dew, a very dear friend of mine. She's the co-founder and chief sales officer of Health Ade Kombucha. She co-founded Health Ade in 2012 with her two best friends, husband and a wife team, Justin and Dana Trout. Vanessa is native to Los Angeles. She went to UCSD, UC San Diego, and got a degree in biochemistry. And then you have an MBA from USC, right? School of Martial Business, right? Got that right. Okay. Anyway, Vanessa's here with us. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course. It's my pleasure, Nadia.
To support my podcast.
I love it.
Anyway, so we're going to kind of dive into Vanessa's entrepreneur journey, her career, her company, and then talk about your brand of influence, because I think it's important for women out there or girls out there to hear other women who've succeeded, who've worked their way, created an influence that's a brand of their own, so that we can impact other women who are struggling, maybe starting off, and give them some inspiration. So, you know, when you're hearing us and you're just like in the dumps, you know, you'll be like, okay, I'm not the only one. So just a little bit for something to kind of someone else to kind of hear us, and hopefully we could make someone happy or inspire someone to be, you know, keep going, because, you know, being an entrepreneur is very, very difficult. Okay, so we're going to dive right into your entrepreneur journey. So for those who've never tried Health Ade Kombucha, what makes Health Ade Kombucha different than the other competitors? And just a little bit about the background of kombucha again for the audience.
So kombucha is fermented tea, rich in probiotics and healthy acids. So at the heart of it, really good for your gut. And at Health Ade, we make it the old school, real world kombucha way. So we use simple ingredients, water, sugar, tea, and the SCOBY, which is the VIP ingredient responsible for creating the probiotics and healthy acids in each bottle. We flavor with cold pressed juice in-house, and we brew everything the same way we did back in the farmers markets, which are in 2.5 gallon glass jars. So super, super, super small batch, all glass fermentation all the time. So we're really proud of the brew that we make, and we like to say we make the best tasting and highest quality kombucha one can buy.
Oh, definitely is. I love kombucha and I love yours. Wait, you started off in a farmer's market? Can you tell us about that story? That's so cool.
Oh, wow. So I'll end on the farmer's market, but I'll tell you the story a little bit on how we got to the farmer's market. So me and my best friend and her husband, we were all in our mid-20s, unfulfilled with our jobs at the time, and we were searching for something else that would fulfill us.
Right.
And we did that through an entrepreneur club. And that was a time where we got to share dinner together, great wine, and brainstorm different business ideas. And one of those ideas was kombucha. And we actually fell upon kombucha, not through your conventional methods of let's make it to sell for a drink. Justin actually thought he was losing his hair. And so we thought, oh, anecdotally, we heard kombucha is good for hair loss.
You're a biochemist.
Dinah had been brewing kombucha since nutritionist days. So we thought, okay, we can make it in our closet. Let's test it out, see if it works. Needless to say, we did not land on a hair loss product that day. But what we did have was amazing kombucha. So we decided to sell it at the farmer's market. That first bottle was sold March 25th, 2012, which is about 7.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I have to say, farmers markets were a crazy time of hard work and a lot of manual labor. So anyone who's ever been to one and worked one, you know what I'm talking about. But it's so worth it to get the customer interaction and the direct feedback. It was our school of hard knocks in learning the customer feedback, actually.
No, you actually do need to be on the field, talk to the people. Whether it's my first business, my second business, I actually went out there also with the sales team and talked to every single woman that we work with. Because other than that, even though it's in your head, right, the idea, the company, but it's never the same until you talk to the customer.
100%.
Right.
That customer feedback is so priceless.
Right. So did you always know you're going to be a business owner? I mean, I know you wanted to be entrepreneur, but like when you actually started it and start doing it, I mean, how was that compared to what you imagined?
Yeah. So I think my personal journey, way back when, I always thought I was going to be a doctor, the traditional path for
medical
Asian
doctor?
female. A medical doctor. I thought I was going to cure my mom's disease. That's why I got into biochem. But ultimately, I was led to Health Ade and starting it because I just knew there was something within me that was curious about building a business, building a brand. And I was so lucky to be able to find my best friends, Diana and Justin, who also felt the same way. And we shared that curiosity to discover what it could be. And we're so proud of what it has grown into.
So did you guys work and then did the Health Ade Kombucha on the side, or it's just like quit your job, let's just do this? I mean, how was that? How was the process?
Yeah. So in 2012, we were still working 9 to 5. We were, brewing Health Ade on the nights, weekends. And we were selling at the farmers markets on the weekends. I was still going to school at the time. And so it wasn't until end of 2013 that we all quit our jobs. And it was because we started to feel this momentum with Health Ade that we knew that if we didn't devote all our attention to it, it would never really get off the ground. And so we took the big plunge. And that was a huge time and crossroads in my life where I had to make the decision to give this a go or not.
Right. Especially you're born into Asian family. How was that telling your dad?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I think my dad's response was, I spent how much money on your education and now you're going to go brew kombucha? What is that? And my mom, she just wanted me to be safe and taken care of. And she actually created a whole spreadsheet of all my lost salary, all my benefits that I was losing, all my future lost earnings.
Oh, wow.
And really gave me the tough love that she thought she needed to give me. And, at the heart of it, I think they supported me. I wanted to be happy. But then I definitely did not follow the conventional path they wanted me to take.
Oh, that's pretty amazing that you were just persistent about going about the business.
A lot of people describe me as that, or maybe even headstrong to do what I want to do.
Hey, these are good adjectives for a strong woman.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it's always compliment, like it's not a bad thing because you have to be entrepreneur. It's tough, like you said. And then I'm sure, like not flea markets, farmers market.
Oh yeah.
Really, really tough. It's kind of like trade show. I don't know if you've been to like industry trade shows. Those are tough too because you're practically taking down a store, right? Like a retail store at the beginning of the day and then breaking it all down at the end of the day. And then you're tired on top of that. And then you probably have to do it again.
Yes,
right?
Totally. Yeah, it's that day in, day out. Plus,
Right.
it didn't end there. We were also, at the farmer's market. We were brewing after the farmer's market. And we were working our regular jobs. So it was not just backbreaking work, but then it was also just a lot of mental work that goes into it. So all of you is in it at that point.
Did you feel like you had a big lucky break sometimes during the Health Ade Kombucha, like building that company journey? Or was it just all hard work, which is probably just all hard work too?
Yeah. I can't pinpoint one lucky break because I will say the DNA of Health Ade is defined by kind of our grit and our optimism that we can find a solution. So with that kind of mentality, we've always just pushed through and done the best we could and taken on so much that I can't say we really had a lucky break. I think we, in a sense, created our own luck in that way.
Right. Because your branding is very strong. Like like there's so many brands of kombucha out there, but yours always stand out. The anchor, the packaging, the bottle. I mean, who came up with that idea? Like,
thank you. Yeah. So from the beginning, we always wanted our bottle and our look to stand out on the shelves.
Right.
And everything that was previously on the shelf was very alternative looking. It wasn't having a dynamic, polarizing look like Health Ade does with the dark bottle, with the colors that we're using. We're a fun brand. We're a premium brand.
Right.
We wanted to evoke those types of words. We're real. And that's us as people. So we wanted that to show through in our product.
Oh, okay. All right. You work with Dana and Justin, and they're a husband and wife team. Is that hard working with your best friends, first of all, and then they're married on top of that?
Yeah, I would say that, many different entrepreneurs have their own journey. Some do it solo, some have other co-founders.
Right.
And I can say that, Health Ade is as strong as we are and grown so fast because of our dynamic and our strong trifecta, we call ourselves. The dynamic could always be hard if you're married or if you're best friends. It's how you talk to one another, how you go out of bounds when it comes to the way you talk to each other. And so we've always been very mindful of having those types of disagreements. And at the end of the day, very early on, we always said we wanted to make sure that their marriage, our friendships were always preserved.
Right.
And how we made decisions for the business was separate from the personal stuff. And it was always what's best for Health Ade.
Right.
And I would say because we're, have no egos, we're always in it to win it together. We've been able to succeed together.
That's true. Because you have the bigger picture and goal in mind.
Yeah.
Which for one, I should be talking. I also have a co-founder. That's my husband.
I was going to say, I was like, I should learn from you too.
It is difficult at times, but you're right. Because I think it's because we have always the bigger picture in mind and the better, the betterment of the company in mind. So, and then we also understand there's also private life and then there's business life. So we need to always draw the line. But, I think that doesn't matter whether you're a husband and wife team or if just other coworkers or best friends. I think, and working with people in general is hard. It's just as long as you all know where you're going. I think
that's so true. That's so true. And also being able to have those direct conversations with both compassion and also directness to move it forward is what matters.
That's true. Yeah. So your job at Kombucha is Chief Sales Officer. Now you're coming from a biochem, you have a business major. So what do you really do as a chief sales officer? Like, how do you apply the skills that you got in school with your actual role in kombucha?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think as anyone who started a company, you wear a lot of different hats. And I would actually, for a larger part of Health Ade, say it was a firefighter hat. There's a lot of different things going on that you just need to put out. When we more formalized our roles, it really did make sense for me to take on this role. And what I do is I feel like I manage from beginning to end, kind of that customer sale, if you will. And there's a lot that comes with it, how it interacts with operations, how our team is feeling like they can win it. Do they have the tools to go speak to our customers? Thinking about growth and the future up ahead. And what is our growth plan or platform? So there's a lot of pieces that come with it, whether it be short term or long term. I think the most exciting part is seeing the development of our people. We started in the farmers market, like I said, and we've grown our team, our whole company to about 200 people. And so seeing the development of a lot of people from very early on and still with us today is probably the most fulfilling.
That is,
and I would say that's I've had to learn a lot on the job too, because I didn't have the formal skills or CPG trained. But I do think there's something to be said about being agile, a quick learner, and doing best by the company and the people.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That's very inspiring. It's very difficult. So we're gonna go on a little break.
Now you can try before you buy on Kollectin. Introducing Experience, the new way to shop jewelry. Flaunt your style and express your creativity with experience. Get it today, only on Kollectin.
Welcome to Girl Influence Power Podcast. I'm your host, Nadia Lee. We're coming back from a break with our guest, Vanessa Dew from Health Ade Kombucha. Hi, welcome back again.
Hi again.
All right, so we're going to talk about influence since that's kind of one topic of my show. So I think let's talk about the very beginning. Is there a particular woman, dead or alive, that really impacted your influence, your entire journey as an entrepreneur, or even growing up as a woman? I mean, like one figure.
Yeah. I would say maybe both my mom and my grandmother, actually.
Wow.
So when I think about my mom,
Right.
she's an Asian female.
Right.
And she was an engineer by trade. So growing up and just what she had to go to schooling for, she was
Right.
always a very rare minority.
Mhm.
And through that all, she's been able to be very successful
Right.
in her job,
Mhm.
and she's able to raise a family.
Right.
So she was a great example as a working career woman
Mhm.
who faced adversity,
Mhm.
both in her development education,
Right.
but then also in her personal life with her personal sicknesses.
Mhm.
And she's still been able to go to all my bake sales, sporting events as
Oh,
a kid,
yeah.
and raised me in the best way she could. And I'm
Right.
forever grateful.
Yes.
And she always had this zest for life that
Mhm.
I wanted to be a part of too.
Yeah.
And so I looked to her as a role model.
Mhm.
And, my grandma, she came here as a single mom because her
Mhm.
husband passed away in
Mhm.
China. And she brought my dad and my aunt here by herself, and she raised them. And she has this fortitude and
Right.
this, she was a spark plug. And so I loved her for that too.
Oh, yeah. You have two strong women in your lives.
Yes, definitely do.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I must say, like Asian women, especially of that generation, it is very difficult, especially when you're very capable and you have, a career. It's almost unlikely because back then they don't expect women to work. They expect women to just raise a family. And if you're very traditional, it's completely just like stay at home,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's very different nowadays. And we're really privileged. That is very, very different. So you have a lot of impact and influence on women. So what do you think is your style of influence?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's not in your face.
Uh-huh.
I would say that I am someone who is reliable, a listener, someone who can speak from my own experiences and share what I've been through
Right.
in hopes that someone can take something from that.
That's true. Right.
And I think that, taking a bit from my mom too, just having this zest and excitement
Right.
and optimism around the what if
Right.
is something that I hope to give everyone.
Right. Because you do speak a lot too at a lot of events. I mean, that's how you and I met. We
Right.
were both panel speakers at a
Right.
women
And
event.
that was
Yeah.
such a turning point for me too.
Right,
I
right,
love that
right.
event.
Yeah, I know. That was an Asian businesswomen event. So you give back to the Asian women or Asian business community as well, right?
Yeah. So going through my entrepreneurial journey myself, I saw very few of me.
Right,
So very
right.
few Asian female entrepreneurs in the food and beverage space.
Right.
And I didn't quite feel that up until the last couple years. And I realized that it's a journey all on its own. And so being able to help others through that process,
Right.
through the cultural norms or through any of the issues that surround Asian Americans
Right.
building their business, I'm happy to be part of and give back to that community.
Right. So that ability to influence, do you think it was largely just natural to you because you were kind of born with it, or do you have to cultivate it and like get better with it? Because sometimes it's not a natural thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has their own secret sauce.
Right,
So everyone
right.
has their own je ne sais quoi.
Right.
And for me, I would say that it's more about leaning into those things that
Right.
I know like the excitement, the optimism, the opportunity to
Right.
overcome.
Right.
That's innate in me, and I've really just had to learn to lean into it a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, because it's hard, right? It
It
is very,
is.
very hard.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable
Right,
space
right.
at times.
Yes. Do
And
you do a lot of social media? Because it's such a social media kind of world nowadays.
yeah, I do. I don't and I do at the same time. I find that I like to momentarily post on
Right.
Instagram stories, but at the same time, constantly thinking about some content is
Right.
not what I envelop myself
Right,
in.
right.
I'd rather just experience.
Right. So do you have to manage your own self brand and also the companies, or that, it's just, the companies is something else?
Yeah, so it's interesting that Health Aid is now a brand
Right.
and an amazing, strong, huge brand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of what we have, input in our fingerprint
Right.
on is the values and the personality of it,
Right,
if you
right,
will.
yeah.
So we have a very capable team. They make our world go round.
Right, right.
From understanding how to build that brand, and I'm so appreciative of what they do.
Okay. Because recently there was a lot of press, like going around in social media, articles. So how do you handle like whether it's negative or just things that you go, what? Yeah, this is not true.
Yeah, I kind of chuckle at that a
Yeah.
bit. Like me and Dinah and Justin, we're able to have a good laugh. Sometimes we're
right.
like, they don't even know.
Yeah.
Or we're like, wow, we only wish we were like that
Right,
sometimes.
right,
But
right.
we like to have a little internal laugh. But I
Right.
think that's where we can just call it what it is and
Yeah,
move forward and
that's
focus on
true.
what we're doing.
That's true. We can't get negative.
Yeah, and we never do,
Yeah.
especially, with our team, with ourselves,
Right,
and
right.
with what we want to do for the
Right,
business. It's
right.
never been our mantra.
Right, right. And you just wrote this big article I read about your own journey, personal journey growing up as an Asian American. Can you tell us a little bit about that article? So if you guys see it on LinkedIn, I've been sharing it everywhere. But tell me a little bit about that article and how you came about to writing that.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So, when I mentioned that, having a voice as an Asian American female entrepreneur,
Right.
I've had to really, understand my upbringing to really lean into that as well.
Right.
And finding your identity as an Asian American growing up in a very homogenous society where I was brought up,
Right.
I had to learn a lot of things about myself, and it was really hard. And
Right.
there were a lot of things to confront. Racism at a young
Right.
age.
Right.
My grandmother and my mom's food being made fun of, and me
Right.
feeling ashamed for it.
Right. Right.
And I felt embarrassed because
Right.
I was different.
Right.
and
because
I
you're
was
young too at the time.
yeah, and I
Right.
wanted to be at that age. You're impressionable, and you want
Right.
to be part of the cool crowd.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like from that point on, that very important time when someone called me a racial slur that I
Yeah.
won't mention here, but it was a time where I just decided to totally, ultimately hate where I came from. So I hid that part of me.
Right.
I tried to become essentially whitewashed
Mm-hmm.
in every fact of the word.
Right.
And it wasn't until my mom really snapped me out of it,
Right.
because she basically said, you are who you are. I remember
Right.
in college, and she's like, you're always going to hate yourself if you just don't embrace being
Right.
Chinese.
That's true.
So that's really helped me understand and embrace who I am,
Right,
and
right.
get comfortable in my own skin, quite honestly.
Right.
And I think it's taken about 33 years to do that.
You're still young.
But it really uncovered a lot so that I
Right.
can be me and be free in that.
Right. That's true. Because it's tough. I mean, because we see ourselves as just people. Like you and I, we don't think about race or, how we brought up is different than someone else. So that is actually really easily like you grow up, you don't feel like you're a victim of racism. But then until you get out there and you realize and you think deeply like, whoa, you have that, you actually have that like ingrained in you, like that has an impact on you. So it's actually amazing that you're able to come out and like confront yourself and talk about it, because that's difficult.
Yeah. And as I met some other awesome Asian entrepreneurs like yourself,
Aw.
just talking about the journey, I find a
Right.
lot of people also going through this kind of
Right.
coming of age of sorts and kind
Yes,
of growing
yes.
into themselves.
That's true.
And so it's been really comforting to know that there's
Mhm.
a community out there also feeling the same way and going through
Right.
similar journeys.
That's
and
true.
that's actually what gave me a lot of the encouragement to
Mhm.
write that.
Right. Yeah, because when I was starting my business, and that was way earlier than you, I never saw myself as an Asian American woman, and that there was like a double minority, double negative against me. I'm Asian and I'm women. So when I used to go to trade shows, and I always find like, hey, I'm a designer, jewelry design. Why is my booth always in the back? Even though I did everything the same as everyone else, applied, my jewelry looked just as great, if not better. But every time for years, my booth was always in the back of the show, until one day someone had come to me that was a customer and say, hey, have you noticed all the Asian designers are all back there with the importers and exporters, that, and then it dawned on me, oh, is that why? Is it because I'm Asian? Like never
Right.
even thought about
Right.
that.
You're
Was
in
I
that
a
same
victim?
group.
Right. And I was like, was I a victim of this racial injustice? And I didn't even know it. But anyway, so.
I know. And then you look back and you're like, well, I got through that.
Right,
but
right.
that's just something that you're just conditioned
Right,
to,
right,
I
right,
guess.
right. And then also being Asian, we don't talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We hide it.
Oh,
And
100%.
like-
Like I was never emotionally vulnerable.
Right.
Now, my boyfriend will say I'm a sensitive snowflake, but I do feel like talking about it is so important, but we're not
Mhm,
able
mhm.
to, or that's
Right,
not in our
right.
culture.
Right. Because it's always like, keep it to yourself. Let's not have conflict.
Right.
Right. It's conflict resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
And you
If
just hide it.
Right. And then, you don't boast about yourself, you don't go out and confront people. Did you have to do that? Like ultimately teach yourself to be more vocal?
100% all the
Yeah.
time. So I remember, and this was probably in grade school, probably because of the event that has happened to me.
Mhm.
I always found myself not raising my hand to question the norm.
Right.
And so as I, got older,
Mhm.
learned some things, had more confidence in
Right.
myself,
Mhm.
I did condition myself to be able to speak up more
Right.
and to know that I have a voice and an opinion that's
Right.
valuable.
Right.
But it took so much and a lot
Mhm.
of hardship and the ups and downs and
Right.
the questioning of, the imposter syndrome
Right.
coming into your head.
Right.
And then it just takes little cues
Mhm,
to
mhm.
lose that confidence.
Right,
And
right.
so I've really had to develop it. And
Mhm,
if
mhm.
anything, it's more of a discipline
Right.
to do that
Mhm.
because you're not aware that it's happening.
Right. So, for example, like if you were a young person and you want to like to mentor them, or if you're a young person, you really want to work at Health Ade Kombucha, what kind of personality or what kind of people are you look for that kind of fits into your culture or into your I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great question. So as we've grown, I think the level of where Health Aid is,
Mhm.
we need people that have had great experience
Right.
in that particular
Mhm.
job or expertise we're
Right,
looking
right.
for.
Mhm.
But that certainly doesn't outweigh the equal
Right.
and importance of
Right.
aligning to our values.
Right.
So, everyone who works at Health Aid has gone through a
Mhm.
culture interview.
Right.
And, our values at Health Aid spell
Mhm.
out the word goal.
Mhm.
We like to hit our goals. But it stands for grit,
Mhm.
optimism, authenticity, and leadership.
Right.
And it's, we filter our employees or we have them go through this culture interview to
Uh-huh.
see if they have those types of traits. For
Right.
example, is someone optimistic? You're not going to ask them,
Right.
are you optimistic? They'll just say
That's
yes,
true. Right,
sure.
Right.
But we ask some situational questions
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
tell me about your worst day.
Yeah.
Or tell me, the worst situation you've encountered at work
Mhm,
and
mhm.
how did you overcome it?
Okay.
And so that really gives you insight into kind of their fortitude.
Right.
And I would say that's very important to us as much as the skill and expertise.
Right. So take that as a note if you want to apply to Health Aid.
Goal.
Listen to what she's saying. Goal. All right. Welcome back. We have Vanessa Dew, co-founder of Health Ade Kombucha. For those who have never tried kombucha, it is a
Fermented tea,
right.
rich in probiotics and healthy acids.
Right. She's a good friend of mine. She's on my show today, and we're going to talk about really influence, about our entrepreneur journey, about just who we are, right? As women, as business owners, the journey that we go on to become who we are today. All right. Do you guys have to work with influencers at Health Ade?
We do. We are very lucky that a lot of influencers and people in that celebrity world really love Health Ade.
Yeah.
So we do have a very large influencer following.
Okay. So in your mind, what does that word influencer mean to you?
Yeah. So I think it's a lot of people like to call themselves influencers.
Right, because it's so widely used.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit overly used.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But the influencer traditionally in my head is someone who has a huge audience and a strong platform that they can outreach to. And whether it be through an Instagram post or whether it be through a thought leadership article, they're able to cause someone to pause and think about whatever it may be, whether it's a product or a philosophy or another way of doing something maybe. And so just that moment of change and pause around what that disruption is, I think is an influential moment.
Okay. So for you to influence, I guess using your own brand of influence, very different than the social media kind of influence. Do you have any tips, or how would you educate or mentor other women how to develop their own brand of influence using the pool that they have?
Yeah. So I would say first, for me, I would say first find what's exciting to you.
Right.
And to me, it's exciting to talk to other young entrepreneurs, to other Asian American entrepreneurs, to be part of this community of building, because I've been able to build something with my team.
Right.
And so for me, I'm able to speak from a place of experience and do so only in my own point of view, not ever trying to dictate how someone should do something.
Yeah, that's true.
I hate when someone tells me on how I should do
That's
something.
true.
So I think that's really important to think about is what is exciting to you?
Right.
And then two, how do you want to be? And for me, it's about just sharing my experience and what I've learned along the way.
You teach too, right? At school?
Yeah, I've been asked to come in to my professor's class once a semester and talk about different case studies with our business.
Oh, okay.
And so that's been really fun.
Yeah, how is that? Working with young students who are so idealistic.
Yeah. So I have to say, I was at USC yesterday and I was walking on campus for the first week of school. I was looking around. I'm like, wow, they look so young and spry.
Right.
But just to have kind of all eyes on you and hearing your story and copiously taking notes and soaking in every word, it's such a gratifying feeling. And I think probably the most exciting part is the feedback afterwards, whether it be questions that they're trying to understand to develop themselves or just questions and feedback on a product that they're working on. So to me, that's the most fulfilling thing, both from my view and I hope from their view too.
So how do you balance your work life?
In a very aware way. So I know that if I'm just on 24/7, it's going to start to deplete from me. So I'm all about the not going into my emails the first 30 seconds that I wake up. One new recent thing that I did has been taking off the email notifications off of my work email. So it really helps me not actively get pinged by my email.
That's true.
But I choose when I go in there to refresh that inbox.
So do you turn off your email when you go home? Do you put down your phone and just you know what, from now till tomorrow morning, that's not happening?
That's more of the ideal than the day-to-day. Sometimes I do, but I would say more often than not, it's there. But at least now I can choose to go into my inbox to do some work. But here's the thing is, I don't know if you can ever have it like a clean cut 9 to 5 when you have your own business.
That's
it's just
true.
the life that you choose, right?
It's 24/7 in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so I'm able to balance whether it be, having brunch with a friend on the weekend, and I still need to get, something done before the end of the weekend, prepared for Monday morning. So it's just the life that I chose. And fortunately, I just have a very strong support system that understands that. And I've learned to delegate a lot over the years.
Oh, that's good. That's actually very important for an entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't do everything on your own.
No, but it's a hard lesson to learn as you're going through it.
It's true. Especially like when you're so used to doing everything so well too. And then you hand it off and it's like, it's not the same quality that you expect.
Right. And then it's always this thought in the back of your mind, are they doing it to the most that they can?
Right.
But I've come to understand that once you start to trust people, train them, have them, do it and have a great feedback loop, then they can just fly and totally feel empowered to do the right thing.
All right. So we do have to end the entire podcast with my favorite question. Why do you love Kollectin?
Oh my gosh. I have to say, Kollectin has the best selection of jewelry for all different types of events. And my go-to everyday earrings that usually go with everything are from Kollectin. And they're the best statement you need or the daintiest look that you need.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I love
because
it.
of me, right?
Of course.
Of course. Always. Well, thank you for coming.
Thanks, Nadia.
Great having
this was
you
so
as
fun.
a guest. Yeah. It was an hour that went by really, really fast.